And we're live. G'day. Welcome back. My gosh, it has been a while since I went live on the YouTubes. Hello, good morning, g'day. It is T minus 26 minutes on the rocket clock, at least on when the Mortal Realms Reforged is going to be going, I guess, live. And Games Workshop will be showing off all these very cool, exciting, who knows what they're going to show us. I guess we can speculate in a second what we expect. And I'd love for you all to play along and join in the chat, because hearing my own voice is a little boring at times, at least for me. So let us know what you're thinking, and we're going to click over to the stream when it actually starts. So we are watching. Fear not, it is here. But we are about 30 minutes, just a little under 30 minutes from kicking off from the stream, and I'm joined by the Mortec of Rules herself, friend of the channel, Madigan, who hopefully is no stranger, at least a bit of a puppet master when it comes to the rules, and I'm sure everyone knows Madigan very, very well. But for the folks who don't know who you are, welcome, g'day. Share who you are and what are you looking forward to with the Mortal Realms being reforged.
Hi, I'm Madigan. I love rules a lot, and honestly, I think that's what I'm most excited for, to see more of the nitty gritty with the 4th edition rule set. I know we're getting a Spearhead stream later, so I imagine we'll get some of the core rules for that. See how now that everything is an ability, how it interacts with each other. How timings have been improved so that there's no more confusion there, how they can interact with each other.
You're such a rules person. You are such a rules person.
I'm excited. There's also new models. There's new models. We've seen the picture of that like Stormcast and some sort of bird thing. We've seen the silhouette of the wizard, I guess, with the big staff. We've seen what appears to be a Garcia. It's got the horns, so
there's a lot to unpack. Like there is a lot to unpack, because like Warcom
there's so much. Like
Warcom has just been like a flood. They've just like, oh, you want rules? Here's all of the rules. Here is stuff about wizards and priests. Here's things about building an army list. Here is places of power and terrain rules. And here is the stuff that is disappearing and manifestations. And it's just like so much.
And it sounds like today we're just getting everything dropped on us too. New models, new rules, Spearhead. Later this week we have that matched play game. So it seems like we're getting a lot all at once.
We should get a really good idea of what we're expecting. So June, July is probably what we're all anticipating to get the new edition. So I guess between now and then, enjoy your last games of 3rd edition and run it out to all its glory. But you are going to see, I guess the sequence of events, folks, is you're going to have first off, we're going to have this preview. So previews don't traditionally show rules. It's more about what I'm going to guess is going to be the box. I imagine today's big thing is going to be the launch box. Yeah. So you'll probably get to see all of the cool new models. Does it come with terrain? Does it come with like widgets? Is it going to come with like, what is the in there, and how is Skaven being redone? Because I know we've kind of seen a little bit of Skaven, but I think we're expecting, or at least anticipating, a lot more.
Well, we know that the box comes with everything you need to play Spearhead with the 2 halves. We know that there's a little book, apparently, with all the rules for the factions and stuff, terrain, board, cards. We know all that's in there. And I think we've seen at least most of the models in it, right? Because we've seen the new Reclusians, we've seen the Prosecutors, we've seen the Clan Rats. And then we've seen, the 2 silhouettes of the little Stormcast guy and the Garcia, and we've seen that picture of guy on bird. I'd say that's probably a lot of what we're going to see in it. The Warlock Engineer and Gisele's.
There is a lot. There's probably a lot. Yeah, and I
Yeah.
guess there's going to
Yeah.
be more than just what we've seen, right? And
For sure.
and
And
you've
some of
mentioned
it,
Spearhead.
only the silhouettes we've seen. So seeing those in full will be cool.
Justin, I'm going to call you out here. Some new Rat Ogres, please.
That'd be neat. They
That would
certainly
be
need a
very
refresh.
Yeah, the was it 7th edition ones? They're definitely the ones that sing to me, as opposed to the one that was in the Isle of Blood
Isle of
box.
Blood. Yeah.
They were the much better Rat Ogres in my opinion, and they definitely deserve something new and exciting. And I think the Skaven people, like I remember, I've had the pleasure of previewing every battle tome in 3rd edition, and I remember going through the Skaven one going, there's nothing. You got a bunch of rules. You didn't get anything sexy. You got, I think, one new model, and that's really been it. And it's like, come on, man. These models have been
They
around
didn't even
since
get
the
a new model.
90s.
It was a
No, not on.
resculpt.
No, but they got some. They got one thing. They got
Yeah,
one thing. Like
the pity
compared to,
hero.
compared to like the 90s Jezzails and the monkey grip 6th edition gutter runners, it's like, come on, man, give them some love. This is a unique IP of yours. Give them something, and I feel like this is the time. Like your faith is going to be rewarded. A couple of other things as well, and we'll obviously there's a lot more to talk about. I'm all dressed up, very excited about the Spearhead battle. Do you think we'll get Annihilators in the launch box for a second time? My guess is going to be no. If you want your
Probably
Annihilators,
the new Reclusians.
And obviously they're a part of the Spearhead box. So if you get Indrassa and the Spearhead, to get Annihilators if you're looking for them. But they don't traditionally put the same models in the next box. Like it's always something new.
Well, they want to show off the new models, yeah. And I don't think they'd put both Annihilators and the Reclusians in the same product because they're both filling that paladin role.
The Underworld's Warband. The Underworld Warband is very cool. And I've said on streams many times, if they went harder into Eshin, like the Underworld's Warbands, and I know they've done like the Plague ones, I've forgotten, Pestilence. If they do more of those like Underworlds, like that dynamic, fun, characterful Skaven, I don't know if I can resist. I truly don't know if I can resist Skaven because I'm just that close. Like if you go Eshin, if you go hard on Eshin, I might be convinced.
Well, we don't know how many other warbands are staying legal either, because in that article of what they were removing from the game, they did mention that many more of the warbands will remain on sale, but move to Legends. We don't know if that's all of them, most of them, what, but definitely shaky ground for cool Underworlds models. You could proxy with them, but
yeah, like I think a lot of us do. Like I've proxied Zarbag skits to have a new Madcap Shaman. We won't talk about that because that's now also gone. Poor old Madcap. Yeah. I've obviously used the is it Morgraith, the Daughters of Cain one, for a second alternative Hag Queen on foot. So they've always been great for alternative sculpts.
As long as they have a matching base size. Like I have Kainen's Reapers, and Mir from the Warband would make a good Soul Reaper proxy, except he's on the wrong base. And we don't really have anything else in OBR that he fits particularly well for.
I want to bring up a comment that we've ignored a little bit, just because we've been in such a good conversation. That Jungle has brought up a really good comment, is around there's been a lot of rule changes, and we can kind of talk a little bit soon. Some things we can't talk about just yet, but like from a Battle Shock perspective, for me this is big. And I say that it's big. Maddie's like, I don't care. I play Death. They're all Bravery 10. Whoop-de-doo. But for me, I play Gits with like Bravery 4 idiots. I play Humans, Bravery 5 idiots. I've got so many low Bravery armies. Most of my armies are low. I don't know if I even play. Oh, my Zinch Demons are the only Bravery 10 army that I actually play. Battle Shock, how does that change army construction? How does that play with games? Is it going to reward hordes? Is it going to is it going to slow down games? Is it going to what does it actually mean? Hell, will unit sizes even stay the same? Will they go, well, if there's no bravery, then zombies go back to 10s? You know, will gits go back to 10s? Like, who knows?
Well, they can't be double reinforced anymore. So I don't think they're going to go back to 10s, but you're not going to be able to see those, 60 blocks of zombies. The most you can take is 40. I do think that, under current 3rd edition rules, there's a big have and have nots with regards to battle shock. Either there's not a lot of armies where it's just sort of middling for. Generally, people are either getting impacted by it really hard in the case of armies like Gits, where they're got things that are like bravery 4 and they've got hordes, or your stuff like elite models, you don't take battle shock, so it never really comes up. So I think it's good that they're getting rid of it, because I don't think it was a great system, and I think that getting rid of it lets them put that complexity budget in other places.
I'm excited. And as a Gits player, I'm always playing my army down like 1900. I won't take that endless spell. I will always go for the double triumph just in order to get myself out of those bravery situations. But now just the removal of bravery, there's those unlocking opportunities. Like, do I now lean in heavier, or how do I now think about this a little bit differently now that I don't have a codependency with triumphs, or a codependency on inspiring presence, or really being worried about the negative impacts of battle shock? Do I look at units a little bit differently now that I'm like, oh, well, now I will reinforce them once, because in the past they were just too much of a risk and a resource that I just never would want to. There's so many questions which I'm really excited to explore with you all. And rest assured, folks, we will explore this. There's partially a reason why I have been very quiet. And if you keep an eye on Goonhammer, I guess in the next, say, 12 hours, you might find a little bit more. We'll have the exclusive there. But there's a lot of cool things leading up to 4th edition. And I guess there's a couple of things, right? We've got the Spearhead stream that'll kick off immediately after this particular stream. So folks who have joined us, hello, welcome. We are about 14 minutes away from the Mortal Realms preview, so we will actually jump into that stream when they're kicking off. So fear not, I am absolutely watching that on screen to make sure that we join in onto the fun. They'll reveal a thing, then they'll talk about the thing, and we can kind of pause and have a chat, and feel free to jump into the comments and we'll discuss what we see, and then we'll go back forth, and just we'll watch it together. Plus, there's all these other cool things, like the fact that like what's the impact of battle tactics? What's the impact of endless spells now, manifestations? And I think we saw some things like terrain have health characteristics now. Like all of a sudden, it's just like, what does this mean? Oh my gosh! And how does it evolve our lists and our play and our thinking and shit? Even the double turn. The double turn is going to be a massive piece now. Like, is it worth the trade-off?
For sure. With regards to the battle tactics, they're Grand Alliance based this time, not faction based. So I don't think that they're going to revolve around the new models. No.
And correct me if I'm wrong. I'm pretty sure I was reading this last night again. The battle tactics are seasonal, so they're tied to the General's Handbook. Cool. So that actually says it in Warcom at the end of the battle tactic article. So unlike what we saw last season, which was the early books had probably the worst battle tactics, minus Daughters of Cain. And then as they progressively got better and they understood how to introduce it, you notice that the later edition armies had much better battle tactics and much easier to score. It sounds like we're not going to have that problem. It's going to be a generic thing that'll be tied to the General's Handbook, and that's probably a good thing. That's probably a really good thing.
I'm interested to see how it turns out. I think that making them Grand Alliance based instead of faction based has the potential to be problematic if they can't tune the levers individually. If one faction is very, very good at scoring the battle tactics versus another faction struggles with scoring them, I could see that becoming a problem. But there's also a lot fewer of them that they have to balance around and have to play test. So
yeah, 100%. For example, like like my sons, right? Like if there's like 2 or 3 battle tactics for destruction,
Yeah.
and there's one that's focused on hordes or having more models, all of a sudden that's one battle tactic I can't score from my my for sons. So does that mean I see less sons on the table? I think some people would be happy about that. Speaking of sons, the objective size, like that small size, and give me a second, because I've been building these out for my GT. Like that's the new objective size.
Yeah.
Now a sun's base will take up most of that.
Well,
Unlike the
we don't know
previous,
yet either. It hasn't been specified whether or not we can stand on the 40 mils yet. So I think that could also make a big difference in how those objectives play out, is whether or not, can you stand a big Suns model on the middle there? Because if you can, yeah, you can eclipse a big part of that objective. Hordes can do a similar thing, if they just sort of spread out around it. But if you can't stand on them, then you can also sort of screen objectives off weirdly, or use them to screen your own units, because they're effectively like tiny terrain pieces. So either way, I think, yeah, there's going to be big impacts.
there is a lot of questions, I think, is what I'm trying to say. I'm not trying to solve the world's problems just yet. As more rules are revealed, so we've got the Spearhead that's going to be shown off later today with 2 of AEW's finest. So I am a big wrestling fan. You all know that. You have seen me in the past. AEW is my company. So I'm going to be a little bit sad, and I'm sure some people are going to send me pictures of being in the room with Claudio Castagnoli, aka Cesaro, for those people who used to watch WWE, and Kip Sabian as well. So you might have seen Claudio at Warhammer World, I think around 9th edition 40k, where him and Shayna Baszler were playing an intro game. Shayna's a big 40k nerd, and she wears a lot of attire inspired by Space Marine. So you'll notice that she'll wear a bunch of random gear, and it's really cool. And she introduced Cesaro, or Claudio. And Kip's also a big 40k player. I think he plays Age of Sigmar as well. Not that I personally know him. So I was excited to see what they do with Spearhead. And there's been a little fun. And I saw some little TikTok short videos come out today. And it was fun to see Claudio talk about only the faithful. I don't know. I like it. I don't know.
They seem very excited.
Most of you probably like, who are these random people and what are they doing here? But I reckon it's going to be a lot of fun. I reckon it's going to be a lot of trash talking, and it's going to be a lot of fun.
I think if anyone knows how to hype up, a production, it's probably wrestlers.
Yeah, I'm partially thinking about the fact that if I was there, I don't know if I'd be able to, I'd probably be fanboying. Like, oh my God. It is a big deal. Like Claudio, especially, is a very big deal. So I'd recommend checking it out. By the way, we are now about 9 minutes away. So again, I am keeping an eye on the stream. We will flick it over when they get into the goodness. But I'd be curious to hear from people in the chat. Keep us entertained. What do you think we're going to see? What are you hoping to see? Do you have a question that we maybe can kind of talk a little bit about? Because I mean, there's been a lot. There has been a lot. Like from what I've seen from Spearhead, it looks really cool. Certainly getting me a little bit curious about painting different armies that I wouldn't normally pay like a 2K, like Fire Slayers. I don't have an interest in painting 2,000 naked baby dwarves on the table, but would I do a Spearhead? Yes. Would I do a OBR Madigan? Maybe this is the time. Maybe I get some Bone Daddies on the table. Well, John, funnily enough, you say that. That's exactly what I'm painting now. So I've just painted the Nighthawk Spearhead, and I'm now literally doing IDK. So I've just been starting on my thralls. I was doing some sand bases, just some textured sand bases, and who knows? Who knows? I reckon it's going to be really cool.
I've got all my death ones, ready to go. I need to paint them still, but got them all collected.
Well, I think one of the things I'm most excited to see with Spearhead is going to be Age of Sigmar has really lacked a small version of its game. I hear nothing but really positive things about Combat Patrol. Not that I play 40k, so I can't actually tell you that it's good. I've never played it, but from all reports, people really enjoy Combat Patrol. You see events and you hear it about being really good to introduce people to the community, and they bring in very interesting ways to play the game. If they can kind of bring that kind of theme to Age of Sigmar. Warcry never caught me, to be honest. Warcry never caught me. Maybe it's because I was hoping it was like Necromunda, not Necromunda, Mordheim. But if Spearhead does what I think it's going to do, I think it's going to be really good for our community.
I've heard, nothing but good things, like from what I've seen in the articles and stuff. It looks cool. I'm excited to see more details about it. See the stream later on, get a feel for how it plays. I think one of the biggest complaints about Combat Patrol has been replayability. I haven't played it, but I've read the rules. I've heard a little bit about it. And while it's definitely a good way to introduce people to the game, if I'm correct, it has like fixed missions for each pair of armies.
Oh, is there?
So I think so, yeah. Like there's a grid. So if you're Necrons and your friend has, like Gene Stealers, you're always playing the same mission. So I'm hoping that Spearhead has a little more replayability than Combat Patrol, and that it doesn't just get relegated to this is the new player game.
So I'm just looking at the chat. Yes, I agree. There has to be replayability. Otherwise, it'll fizzle out. Just looking at some of the comments. Victor, shout out to Victor. Would you say Warcry is a far cry from Age of Sigmar?
For sure.
I'll pay that. It's just not my thing. Like I tried it. I'm like, it's not quite what I'm looking for. Maybe it's Spearhead. Because I've tried Underworlds. I've tried Warcry. And I'm like, it's not quite what I'm looking for. But from what I've seen about Spearhead so far, and like, John saying ban thralls. Well, I'm sorry, that's what's in the box. So I'm only assuming that it's like you play what's in the box. Is there alternative versions? So for example, with Gits, right? Do I get a Spearhead with my Boingrot Bounders and my Hoppers? And we know Boingrots are stronger. So how do you balance that? Is it a fixed list where it's like you only get to use Hoppers or you only get to use Boingrots? Or is there a mix of 50-50?
If it's like Combat Patrol, it's probably fixed.
Moss Dog, yes, I will be sourcing the stream. It'll be here. Look, Merry Christmas. Hasn't kicked off just yet. Thank you for asking. So about 5 minutes away approximately. Then they'll yatter on for 5 minutes before they actually get into the good stuff. But yes, we will absolutely. Twitch is right there, ready to go. Bring it up when it's ready. A couple of other things as well. What else have we got? Anything else? Oh, and we haven't talked about in about, is it 2 days? I can't remember exactly the schedule, but there's also the masterclass battle, a rematch of the World Championships finalists between Tom Morsley and Spoon. Nicholas, I used to call him Spoon. It's his nickname. So they're going to be replaying a battle. So they were in the finals of the World Championships, the best of the best tournaments that happened at Atlanta last year. And they will be, I guess, taking us through a masterclass of 4th edition Lumineth versus Skaven, if I remember correctly. Yep. So I imagine we're going to see a lot more of the rules and how some of these previews kind of come to life.
Probably the rest of the GHB too.
Oh yeah, we haven't really seen much of the GHB, have we?
Yeah.
We saw some battle plans. I think we saw
some battle plans. We saw one of the terrain maps. We saw battle tactics. But again, not all of them, not all the maps, none of the seasonal rules really.
Didn't we see something about?
We saw one. What was it called?
Something about a battalion or something about a rule.
Yeah.
I can't remember. There was something. That's all right. I'm being coy. Let's just leave it at that. But yes, there's plenty of stuff, but there's more to show. Nope, preview still hasn't started. Keeping an eye on it. Bodyguards, thank you, Rick. That is what I was looking for, the bodyguard stuff. So that is a seasonal rule. So what that means and who do you bodyguard and Do you put in something that's super durable to protect your general? Do you bring something that's very killy that can get some boosts? Do you chuck in as many things as possible, or do you chuck as very little as possible? I guess all of the questions that we're going to have to answer over the coming weeks.
We're also
months.
going to have to find out, what can go in regiments, So far, they've specified, I think, like the little Lumineth heroes being able to take things from their temple versus, bigger centerpieces being able to take their whole faction. But I think it remains to be seen, what's the scope that most heroes can take with them. So how restrictive are those regiments going to be?
Yeah, exactly. Like, can I put in 3 Mega Gargants in my King Broad regiment, and it's just like a 1-drop and get all the benefits and very little killy in return? Like, there's a lot of context that we need to kind of wait for. I was just looking at Rick Roberts' question around, do we think the spearheads are going to be evergreen if they get replaced for a new one? So like Skaven and Stormcast. I reckon there'll be multiple Stormcasts, if I'm being honest.
I don't think they would have released the Stormcast spearhead so close to 4th if it wasn't going to be legal. And I know for 40k, for the combat patrols, their old combat patrols are still legal, and they get a new one with every what are they called? Codexes. So I would expect the same thing, where we'll have all the current ones, and then as more get released, they'll be added to the pool rather than replacing the old one.
Yeah, and I hope that this becomes successful, that we see multiple boards being introduced, or
sure.
like seasons, or because I think, to your point, it's replayability. I'd love to see new decks and new ways to play the game, or maybe alternative builds, whether they explore that in White Dwarf, or whether they bring like an almanac like they do in Blood Bowl, where they're like, cool, here's all these extra rules we've chucked into White Dwarf. Here's your now a new seasonal piece, or just give me more replayability. I guess it's cool, but there'll be a point where I'll get bored. I'm like, okay, right, give me something extra. I know the deck really well, or the decks really well. Give me something, or give me a Realm of Shadow board, or give me something that aligns to the GHB.
I do think you have to be careful, because you don't want to update it too much. Because one of the focuses of it is that this is easier. You can use it to teach. So if it gets too frequent, too frequent updates, if you start putting things in White Dwarf, which is, a relatively enfranchised product, you can lose some of that ease of entering people into the game with it.
But you can still play the core rules. Like,
yeah,
I'm talking like a yearly, an 18 monthly type. I don't want monthly updates. And by the way, folks, we are close to starting, so I'm keeping an eye on it, kids. Well, let's put some sound on.
The Mortal Realms Reforged. My name's Lewis, and I'll be your host for this extra special show, bringing you all the latest news from the Mortal Realms. I'll be checking in with the wonderful folks at the Warhammer studio to see what they've been conjuring up in this brand new edition of Age of Sigmar. The Mortal Realms will never be the same again. So without further ado, let's get things started.
All right, I need that box now.
That
I
Griff
need that.
Pro is sick.
The elite champions of the mortal realms have been hurled down by the God King himself. I'm joined by Robin, Phil, and Daz from the Warhammer Studios to chat all things Stormcast Eternals. Guys, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having us.
No worries. So let's kick things off. What do we know about the Stormcast Eternals in this new edition?
So we're seeing some new folks come out this time around. The Ruination Chamber, alongside some classics. The old Warrior Chamber guys, Liberators and Prosecutors. So the Ruination Chamber is pretty special. They have fought and died time and time again. Every time they get reforged, they lose something. And over time, they become more and more effectively like a weapon, like the mask and the hammer, rather than a human being that they once were.
With the new miniatures from the Ruination Chamber, how have you gone about sort of tonally shifting that kind of from a design perspective?
Well, we wanted them to feel much more brutal and much heavier. So we faceted the armor more, and you'll notice that they're layered up more. They've got the parchment, which actually carries their deeds on them. We've got the heavy cloaks on them as well. And we've added new weapons we've not seen before as well. So there's something new, something different, something heavy and gritty that we've not really tapped into with the Stormcast too much in the past. So we've got some new characters in there as well.
Yeah, we've got the Lord Terminus.
Lord Terminus.
Yes,
I mean, he's very, very striking. You notice him straight away, and we've added some Memorians in there as well.
Those Memorians are they're kind of like a
Well,
squire.
an acolyte with the
They're there to
flames.
connect these Reclusians to their history and to their humanity.
And normally they're the sort of characters you see in the background in artwork, for example, but we wanted to put them in. We just felt it'll reinforce the character and the narrative of the miniatures, but also scaled the miniatures really well. So from a miniatures point of view, if it was the first time that you saw a Stormcast, you'd think that was the size of a man.
Yeah.
But that's the size of a man. So it really does put them in context as well and show how great and powerful that these new Stormcast are. So yeah, it was a fantastic set to work on. The whole team did a great job designing those miniatures. So.
Yeah. That's great. So we've got a different storm host now in the Hollow Knights as well. So what was the process of bringing those new miniatures to life?
We've seen our very shiny Liberators, forefront poster boys of the Rangers, and now how do we get these kind of more grittier feel to it?
Yeah.
So that's what you'll see in the paintings, the texture.
It's about time we moved away from
it's been reinforced with
Hammers
that
of
paint
Sigmar.
to make them have that little bit like.
I like the silver.
Not locked away and forgotten about. That's very much they're very much still part of the units, but they're saved for those when things like the Nor has like really kicked off.
Yeah.
These are the ones that dragged out. So how do we reinforce that? So you'll see that with some of those darker tones and the much more tarnished metals. There's a lot of exploration into how.
Big
do we
fan of the
represent
prosecutors
that
as well.
in
I
the
never
paint.
liked the light.
feel.
I really like the new prosecutor
let's talk a
wings.
little
Their
bit
wings
about
are gorgeous.
what can players expect in the box.
But on the Stormcast side, we have almost like two small forces that have allied together. Effectively the call to action guys, the classic Warrior Chamber guys, and then the Reclusians and the Ruination Chamber who've come out to join them, and together, link their shields and maybe, just maybe, hold back that ridiculous amount of Skaven that's pouring across the plains. Not only that, you also get a story. Effectively, you get the story of this fight of the war front that is across the east of the Parch. You're learning a bit more about the journey of the Stormcast. We're not at the end yet, but we are seeing them in their sort of autumn, I suppose. These men and women only have a few more reforgings, and then that's them. They would lose themselves completely.
For me, I think the whole thing just makes the Stormcast way more appealing. As a painter myself, as a hobbyist, I'm really looking forward to painting some up with all those new textures and things to play with and everything as well. And just the tone of them's changed so much as well. They're just really exciting, the whole set.
I think the box it gives you much more depth to the Stormcast. As we were saying, we're used to seeing the Liberators. They're still exciting, so we've given them this update with their weaponry, but also with the Memoriams, that extra kind of texture. We've not seen this before, so it's just gives a much more deeper view of like the life of a Stormcast.
Yeah. Absolutely. Well, Robin, Phil, Daz, thank you so much for popping in to chat to us about the Stormcast Eternals. We really appreciate it.
I really
Don't
like
go anywhere, guys. We've got lots more coming up right after this.
You mean to see Skaven or what?
Hopefully a lot of them.
Yeah, boy.
That's gorgeous.
That's it. That's mad. That's what I think of a rat ogre. None of those goofy boys. This one pains me a little bit.
Why?
My heart. So glad to see that Brood Horror return. Radoga, sick. The
Chaos strikes back
weapon
in an
machine.
endless swarm of teeth, claws, and matted fur. Yes, the diabolical Skaven are here to gnaw away at the mortal realms. I'm joined by Sergey, Phil, and Max from the studio to chat about all things Ratmen. Guys, welcome to the show. So let's jump straight in. What do we know about the Skaven in this new edition, and what makes them so much more horrifying than ever before?
So we're seeing them in their billions, literally billions of Skaven are coming out of this thing, and they're all hissing and boiling and pouring over the lands. What we're seeing in this box set is, like, imagine the camera zooming in to one part of that huge nation-spanning battle line. So we're trying to emphasize not only the Skaven have still got loads of fun character to them, they're still treacherous, cowardice, little guys that would just stab you in the back and look at you, but they also are quite horrifying at this point. They're on their best day, and there are just so many of them.
So from a painting and sort of sculpting design perspective, how have you kind of married those two things together?
What we're trying to accomplish basically is to introduce new elements that make them look more wretched, more disgusting, more vicious, but at the same time being faithful to the legacy of the range, all the key elements that makes them look unique and special, what we call the visual language, all those little thingies, but, you know, with a new touch by using the new techniques, the new technologies that we have on our reach right now.
Yeah, that's great. So in terms of painting as well, that must open up some real opportunities.
Definitely. One thing that we did really early on with coming back to Skaven again after so many years was to really kind of sense checks, like if they're in these dank environments, they're not living their best life, they're not getting all their nutrients, you know, they probably wouldn't look that healthy and that happy, and we're trying to really convey that and pick up where the sculpting is left off and dial it up to 11 with the painting essentially, and that's across the entire thing, just really digging into like what makes them look really sinister, and like how can we bring that believability to what like the core essence of a Skaven really is.
Yeah, and we've got, you know, as you were saying, like the range is absolutely huge in terms of those new Skaven and some of the classic kits as well. So talk us through some of your like personal favorites.
The Garcia, I think, like that's a big one for me, and I think because of the legacy of that archetype, you know, like there have been Graciers pretty much as long as there have been Skaven, and there have been different representations of that throughout the years, and to see that follow through into this new, modern, in my opinion, ultimate version of a Gracier is super exciting, and to be able to work on that is a dream come true, really.
I really loved painting Jezzails when I was young, and the idea of the Skaven sharpshooter, because they're cowards really, and they want to be able to make a difference, but preferably from way at the back. Yeah, exactly. You know, they're just really lovely little duos, and the guns are different this time as well, and a bit more technologically advanced in places.
How about yourself?
Well, my personal favorites basically are two, the clan rats and the rat ogres.
Yes.
I love the clan rats because they are the embodiment of everything that Skaven society is. They are wretched, they are ugly, they are disgusting, but at the same time they are fierce. When we were considering in the design studio how to make the clan rats, we were considering all those elements, those visual language that I mentioned before, but at the same time, we're trying to consider the customer experience. Every single Skaven clan rat is made of only two pieces, two parts.
Oh, wow.
Because all the textures are very graphic and very simple, even though the model can look very busy, it's actually a pretty simple experience to paint. So with a very, you know, limited palette of colors, and with even the fewest of the skills of painting, you can achieve a great result with them. And about the rat ogres, I love them because as a Skaven collector myself, I was waiting for a new kit for ages. And finally, we've got those beautiful models that also come with several options. You can build them in different ways. This time along, when designing the rat ogres, they are a mixture of, gorillas and rats. They are a perfect mix between bipeds and quadrupeds. So when you look at the anatomy, don't expect big pectoral muscles. They are just weird and strange.
That's great. It's sort of like the hulking beasts. You've kind of created these sort of like,
and they are a bit more dynamic. They are like running, advancing in a menacing way. So they are more aggressive and
And it's great that you talked about sort of like the user or painter experience in terms of keeping that stuff quite simple with its textures. But one thing that I really want to know is how have you married that together in terms of the Skaven? There's so many clans sort of coming together, working together, not working together, stabbing each other in the back. How would you marry that from like a paint perspective, perhaps?
Yeah, I think having an army that is so chaotic and broken up in a way where these different clans are represented, it makes it unique, and it gives it a different kind of flavor to a lot of the other factions in Age of Sigmar. It says something about them on a personal level. And then you can kind of use these cues like the warpstone that's speckled across all of the models, or like just the fur textures and the skin to help tie the army together. And then specific pieces of rags and cloths and like the right icons in the right places can tell that secondary like underlying story of like, oh, these are actually from this part and these guys are from over here, and they're kind of working together right now, but they're not just one big happy family.
It's just this beautiful anarchic horde of nastiness pouring towards you, and I think it's going to be so much fun to play on the battlefield, to tell stories with, and just to paint the guys who put so much thought into it. It's an absolute tour de force of a box set.
Amazing.
About that, I remember now that there was some quality very, very unique on the original Skaven set. When you put them all together, they are different sizes because one is more crouched, the other one is more standing, and that created that feeling of horde that works like rats normally do in real life. They work, and we're trying to imply that in the new model. So every single clan rat is a different size, not because they are badly made, but because we are trying to, recreate that effect of they moving like a swarm of big human rats.
It's that level of detail that makes them so sort of like kinetic and dynamic as well, which is really lovely. Well, guys, thank you ever so much for popping to chat to us about all things Skaven. I'm super excited for them to scurry into the new edition very, very soon. Don't go anywhere, guys. We've got lots more announcements coming right after this.
A lot of thought put into them.
All right. Spearhead or rules?
Both. My favorite part.
All right, some epic music. It's a cool looking book. Like the fold out.
Looks thick too. I feel like that's thicker than normal.
Third edition book's quite big.
It is, but I don't think it's quite that thick.
But you never used it. No one ever used it. Like you got it and it was cool and you just chucked it on your shelf. Yeah, I think Power, there will be a lot of supply. Yeah, Madigan's probably going to press pause in a second for the
brand
rules.
new edition means a brand new core book and much, much more.
Oh, as soon as this is over, I'm going to be all over them.
Bill, Matt, and Ben from the Warhammer Studios to peruse through the pages that make up the Mortal Realms. So we chatted a little bit about this before. You guys have decided to go with a little bit more of a mortal eye view of this brand new core book for the new edition. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, absolutely. We've got this very God's eye view in Age of Sigmar 1 and 2. Really great stuff, mythic foundation for Age of Sigmar, but lately with Dawnbringers and with the core book we have here in Skaventide, we're seeing the boots on the ground. We're seeing people, actual people like soldiers, tavern keeps, the artillerists, the wizards, what are they up to, and how do they see the mortal realms? And that's fascinating, actually. That's given us loads of variety and texture to our stories.
You're getting that sort of like lore tapas, aren't you? Sort
Yeah,
of like
yeah,
bits
exactly.
here, little bits here and there, opinions and that kind of thing.
The core book
Yeah,
is really good for
lovely.
lore.
So
It's
let's chat
very
rules
good.
then. So this is a really big shift in the rules. It's sort of a kind of ground up rewrite of the rules, as it were. And talk to me about some of your kind of focus points with those kind of changes for the new edition.
So with the rules this go around, we really had 3 main goals. The first was to make sure that the game was easy to learn, but still very difficult to master, right? Kind of the hallmark of a lot of good games. So you have less systems to learn, but kind of more skill to master them. The second big focus for us was on kind of building on that interactivity, making sure that both players are active and engaged in every turn and phase of the game. And then the final goal was, really focusing on making every battle as exciting as it can be, and having these kind of closely fought battles. There's a lot of interesting counterplay, interesting shifts within the game, and mechanics like the underdog mechanic that kind of help bring those games closer together and result in those really exciting finishes that we all
How many games have
remember
ended
for
by
years
like
to come.
turn 3?
Yeah, amazing.
Like,
so we've
we
also
need
got the
that.
Fire and Jade book as well as the core book with this new edition. What is that? Tell us a bit about that.
So the Fire and Jade book is all the rules you need to play Spearhead for every faction.
So it's really fun just reading through that book.
Check
It's a
out that
beautiful book,
terrain.
and
We've
kind of
seen
Yeah,
that.
discovering
I don't think so. That's new.
factions saying, "Oh, they sound
It
so
looks
Skaven-y
like-
looking terrain.
like to."
Yeah.
Maybe
Yeah.
I'd like to play them.
Gotta
Or
watch
like
out.
cities
Basically,
terrain
Fire and Jade,
overtaken
you
by
will
Skaven.
You that you're like,
Yeah.
whoa, that would be really. I like it. I like that.
Yeah,
I'm trying to
yeah.
do all the destruction ones at the moment, so
Oh,
I'm
yeah,
just
I've got all
focusing
the
on
ones.
destruction. Yeah, it's hard to just do one,
Yes, of course. Yeah. So talk to me a little bit about some of your personal highlights in this new edition.
For me, it's the section we have on the mortal realms themselves.
Yeah.
So we were like, okay, so how would we learn information? Well, we'd probably be there talking around over a meal or at the pub. So we've written from the perspective of Callus and Toll, talking about how the realms work. We've then got necromancers explaining how the realm of death works, and actually they secretly quite like Nagash, but don't tell the witch hunters. So you're getting the almost like you're hearing from the mortals
Well,
themselves.
it's all the little bits of art and the artifacts, and
This is it.
yeah, it kind of takes you on a journey through. It's almost like looking at a travel book or something, right? Where
Yeah,
it
it's
really
the lived
takes you
experience.
throughout, and you get these ideas. Really immerses you in the realms.
Yeah, we're really happy with that. It's got a beautiful gatefold, fold-out map. You get to see the cosmos if you want to really zoom out and see how the metaphysics of Age of Sigmar works. So we've tried to cover it all from the top to the bottom.
That's lovely.
One of the really exciting things, you also have the GHB. So for the first time, we're including all of the contents of the GHB in card form. So really fun stuff, and you can just jump right in and start playing.
Lovely. Well, guys, thank you ever so much for popping in to chat to us about the core book and lots of the stuff that the new edition offers us as well. I'm sure everyone cannot wait to get their hands on it very, very soon.
I like the idea
A
of
whole host of press
interactivity.
releases and some wonderful miniatures to gaze upon
Yeah.
too. Don't forget,
I
you
like
can
the
let us
cards
know
too,
what
the
releases you're
GHB.
excited for by hitting us up on any of our socials, and you can remind yourself.
So what have we seen so far? Like, Maddie, what's your opinion? Well,
But that's not all, because we've got lots more coming.
I'm really excited to go back through everything, hit pause, read all the little tidbits. I think I saw the better part of Valor. It's one of the battle plans. Have we seen that one yet?
Warhammer,
I don't think so.
Age of Sigmar. It's fast-paced, well-balanced, and easy to get started, making it ideal for all players. Join us as we take a look at this exciting game mode.
okay, so more about Spearhead.
As the mortal realms are engulfed in mayhem and violence, Spearhead forces are dispatched far and wide to seek out ancient sites of power and keep them from falling into enemy hands. Will you take up the call to battle and lead a Spearhead force to victory? In Spearhead games, players engage in small-scale tactical battles, fought on a compact battlefield, meaning you can set up a game even with limited space. Games use specially
And
tailored
that terrain
rules
is city.
to ensure that
That's cities for
every
Skaven.
battle is an exciting affair that comes right down to the final few rolls of the dice. In Spearhead, players use a fixed set of units called a Spearhead Army that has its own rules. Each of these has a corresponding box set that contains all the models you need. Whatever army style you like, you'll find a Spearhead to match. Choose one with a small model count to get going quickly. Unleash an entire horde, or pick an army with a stunning centerpiece miniature. Spearhead battles are fought on realm battlefields, and each side of the board represents a different realm. Gairan, the realm of life, and Akshi, the realm of fire.
Okay, so the objectives are
Every
built in.
Spearhead army has a set of regiment
Double-sided,
abilities
too.
and enhancements that you select before each battle. This means you can easily tweak your army every time you
It's not
play,
completely fixed. It's
making
not like
each
it's just one
game
list.
different.
You might get a
Try
selection
out
of
new
models,
things,
but there's
or
still
look for different
customization.
ways to beat your opponents. Spearhead games are quick to get going and always closely fought, but you'll still need to think tactically to outmaneuver your opponent, defeat their army, and come out on top. As the hour of ruin dawns, muster your spearhead. But will you fight to save the mortal realms, or to damn them to destruction?
That's cool.
I like that there's still a
Age of
list
Sigmar's
building
new
element.
edition is on the horizon, and with
Quiet
it
you for a
comes
second. So, Maddie, what were we thinking? Oh,
from this
I like that there's still a list building element, that even if the models are fixed, you're not necessarily playing
existing
the exact same list every time because you have those choices. I'm wondering how impactful they'll be. Like, how much will they change the way a Spearhead plays?
Play once you've learned the rules, and there's so much replayability in it as well, with the board being double-sided, the twist decks and things like that.
Spearhead really leverages the new modular structure of the rules.
Mhm.
So Spearhead only uses the core rules. So it doesn't use any of the advanced rules modules. And that means that it's really, really easy to learn. You just have to read, a few pages of core rules covering the basics of moving and fighting using abilities. And then, you read the Spearhead battle pack and you're right into playing.
Mm.
And the cool thing is that, when you get into playing, you actually kind of learn and discover a lot of the advanced rules. So you get kind of an introduction to a lot of those advanced rules modules, that it's a really smooth transition going into the larger scale game.
To really
That's
help
really
with that,
good. It's
we've got War
needed.
Scrolls specifically for Spearhead,
Mhm.
and within that we keep the stat line and the weapon profiles the same between that and when you play larger Age of Sigmar.
Mhm.
So there's a real nice correlation, a step-by-step way of playing. So players will get to know these things really
great way to
easily,
introduce your
and then to
kids.
keep Spearhead a little bit
partner.
more smaller and easier
That's
to read.
not true,
more
according to
pieces
one of the Warcom
between
articles.
just for Spearhead.
And I imagine with like some new ways to play, create some really like exciting new challenges for the studio. So talk to us a little bit about some of the mechanics that you've utilized to create some real close combat on the battlefield.
So first of all, we've managed to create a system which we call the twist system.
Mhm.
So at the start of each battle round, players will draw a card from the twist deck, and that have a really cool effect that will apply to the battlefield just for that battle round. And this combines with another mechanic we use called the underdog. The underdog is the player that has the fewest victory points in that battle round.
Mhm.
So that can change during the battle, depending on who's winning and who's not at that point. And with the twist, the underdog will typically get an enhanced effect that both players have, or they'll be able to actually apply the effects of the twist. They can choose where it goes, so they can tactically decide how to make it a bit better for them, get them back into the game, maybe put them ahead of their opponent.
Yeah.
But then next turn, their opponent will be the underdog, and they get to do the same thing back to them.
Nice, very nice.
Yeah, and the cool thing is the twists are themed to each side of the board. So it's a double-sided board that you get in the set. One side is themed around Gairan, the other around Akshi.
Did we see some
each
deployments
side of
as
the board
well?
has a correlating
Did we
twist
see
deck.
something?
So all
We
of
saw a brief
narratively very themed.
flashback, but it seemed like
Maybe
there was a
you'll have
diagonal one.
healing or
and a
ensnaring
horizontal.
vines in Gairan, where in Akshi objectives might literally explode into fire and
Great.
burn everyone on them.
Yeah.
So it's really fun things, but really, really helps to pull those games closer together and ensure those kind of fun and exciting finishes. And actually, the twist decks are just two of the decks of cards that you get. The other two are each player will have a deck of tactics cards. So these tactics decks introduce two concepts that will be familiar to veteran players of Age of Sigmar, which is battle tactics and command abilities. But it does so in a really, really easy to use system. So you're going to have, each player is going to have 3 cards at a time. And at the top half of each card, there's a tactic you can score. Each one is worth 1 point in your turn. You can score all 3 in your turn. So you have these kind of 3 secondary objectives. You're going to be trying to look at the battlefield, figuring out how you can score. And at the bottom half of each card, there's a really powerful command you can use to get that interactivity and counterplay in your opponent's turn. The trick is that if you play that card to use the command, you can't score the tactic on top. So there's a really fun trade-off with each player of, do I want to use the command, do I want to use the tactic? And maybe if there's a tactic that's difficult to achieve, the command will then be really useful.
Be a risk versus reward.
So there's a really fun play, and because those change each time you play the game with the ones that you'll have at any given time, it makes each game really unique.
Because one downside with random tactics
thank you ever so much for popping in.
you can draw a card you just can't use.
One cannot wait.
But this still gives you something to do with them.
Don't go anywhere, as we'll be back with some Warhammer Age of Sigmar content right after
this. Is rapid. Like normally it's like little reveal, big thing, like talk, little reveal, big talk. This has just been rapid fire, and I think
we've got a lot to show.
We're looking at the models. All right, what do we got? It's looking good. Like there's still a lot of question, obviously, around the indexes and how it all kind of comes together. But based on what we've seen so far, like, what are we thinking? I'm seeing some positive things in the comments. Maddie, are you liking what you see so far?
I'm liking what I'm seeing. Yeah, I'm really excited. I think that this edition is going to be great. I can't wait for the full rules to drop, to get to actually play it, to try it out. I think there's a lot to see and like experience before.
But based on what we've seen so far, it's
based on what I've seen so far, I'm excited.
From the studio.
All right, we're back with Jimbo, Matt, and Ben.
A little overview of what we've seen. So,
what
guys,
have they got now?
What is part of the Skaven Tide box set?
So this box is absolutely jammed. So first but not least, you get the brand new core book. So 274-page book full of background, bestiary, showcase, all the rules, path to glory, and for the first time ever, you also get the General's Handbook included in the launch set in a card format. So it's got your battle tactics, your battle plans, your season rules, everything you need to play the GHB.
Okay.
And then, of course, in addition to those books, you get an absolute ton of miniatures. So you're going to get nearly 75 different Citadel miniatures in the box, 2 different armies, the Skaven and the Stormcast Eternals. So on the Skaven side, you've got 40 clan rats. You've got a beautiful new Grey Seer.
That Grey Seer
sculpt.
is dope.
It's probably one of my favorite models.
I wonder if there are 40 different clan rat sculpts, or if it's just to use.
This one pains me because the Empire has the Hochland long rifle that they took away
brand new
from
rat
cities.
ogres.
And this used to be the volley gun. Stole that from me as well.
Warp blaster.
Bloody Skaven.
And this crazy Scryer warp.
Stole this from me.
And you've got a Claw Lord riding this crazy Gnaw Beast, who's kind of the centerpiece.
Which people may have seen used to be in Forge World, but at a bigger scale. I like that they brought it back.
You've got your Lord.
It's kind of horrifying too. I like the Gnaw Beast. Disgusting.
I love this more
10 liberators,
nerdy looking
3 prosecutors. 3 of the Reclusians, who are accompanied by these 2 Memorians, kind of remind them of their humanity. You've got a Lord Terminos, also accompanied by a Memorian. You've got a Lord Veritant with a Griff Crow, and then you've got your Knight Quester completing that set. Lots of spectacular heroes, lots of spectacular models. 2 really, really exciting forces.
Yeah, a load. And how about some Spearhead stuff as well?
I'll say we're not finished. There's more. There's more.
Yeah.
So yeah, you get everything you need to play Spearhead. You get the Fire and Jade book. You get a double-sided board. So one side is Gyrand, one side is Akshi. 4 pieces of terrain specifically for Spearhead, which is amazing. And then you get the decks of cards you need. So 1 deck for each player, which has the battle tactics and the commands on them. And then you get the twist deck for Akshi and 1 for Gyrand as well. So pretty awesome all round.
Pretty awesome all around. Well, guys, thank you ever so much for doing that for me, because I don't think I would have been able to do all of
Wonder
that.
how you buy Spearhead rules outside of that
and
box.
thank you for being with us. We hope you've enjoyed it.
I think they mentioned that there was going to be a PDF for them, like on Warcom.
And don't forget, if you want to check out any of the reveals that you've seen, head to the Warhammer
community. Oh, yeah, the decks.
WarhammerCommunity.com.
I presume at some point they'll be sold separately.
I think we're done. That is
not done yet. Raining those rats, Lewis. You're gonna get
live from
first chance
Dallas.
to see Spearhead live here in Dallas. Got my event badge ready to go. I'm Paul. Got Adam here.
Good. How you doing, everybody?
We're gonna have some very special guests playing the first ever live televised Spearhead fight between Stormcast in Skaven.
So is that a nice little segue into the Spearhead game, or is there more to come? So we'll maybe while we wait for Paul and Adam to fire the group chat up, what are we thinking? What are we thinking so far? Now, I imagine on Warhammer Community there will also be they traditionally will show up a bunch of, there'll be a bunch of recap articles. So for those people who want to get a good eye and check out things, zoom in and the best we possibly can. There will be a bunch of cool things you can check out, but let's recap. What are your thoughts? What are you thinking? What are your concerns? Pop them in the chat. I'd love to hear what you're thinking at this particular point. But Maddie, what's your take so far in 30 minutes of gold?
There's a lot in that box in terms of just not only miniatures, but rules content and stuff. Having the GHB and the Spearhead rules all in there make it kind of a really good set to start the edition with. Because it's kind of just got everything you need to play Spearhead, but also to be a good introduction to match play as well, which I think is nice. It's a good segue. And all the models look really sick. So
so they've started putting the Warcom articles up now, so we can start to look in a little bit closer to. So I can see some, obviously the Skaven. There's some stuff around the Ruination Chamber as well, but we can start to get a little bit closer and start to appreciate, I guess, the new models. And I mean, Skaven
is absolutely horrid.
It's like half zombie, half like I don't want to get bitten by this. This looks horrendous. This looks like it is going to probably give me a mad disease, and I will probably just keep taking damage every single turn. This looks horrifying. You don't really have any mounted cavalry kind of heroes, do you? Because Skaven's you got people that ride bells, and you've got little heroes kind of running around, but you don't really have nothing like this. Obviously, because you've got your Vermin Lords, you've got your bells and things like that. But outside of that, they're all just on foot idiots.
I wonder if we'll get. I presume there'll probably be more units released, like when the battle tones come out. I wonder if we'll get non-hero cavalry too.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah, okay. And these are our new Rat Ogres.
The Rat Ogres are lovely. Definitely the biggest glow up.
Yeah, this is massive. This is huge. If I think about people 3D printing or trying to get those Isle of Blood boxes, or the people who are just displeased, and I think someone made a comment, which I don't know if it's true or not, but they had mentioned that there was no, is it a Claw Lord? What's the master, whoever usually follows around,
Master Molder?
The Master Molder, yeah. We haven't seen anything like that, so maybe these are a little bit more independent than they have been in the past. So, again, rules. What do they look like? What do they do? But from a model perspective, I dig it. This is Molder. This is the corruption of, science and warp technology, and just dialing this crazy stuff up to 11. The Packmaster is yes, thank you, Victor, is what I was trying to refer to. The Packmaster is what I wanted to. There's a Master Molder. I'm not saying that things are deleted. It's just interesting to see what they're showing us. This is crazy. This is Eshin crazy goodness of, the fact that some rats are pushing it as well is just gold. It is just absolute gold. It's so dumb. I wonder if we're going to start to see more Doom Wheels, and because Doom Wheels weren't removed. So I'm hoping we start to see much more fast Skaven with a bunch of these plus Doom Wheels and just absolutely terrorizing the board.
Everyone loves Doom Wheels.
But no one runs them. Everyone loves the idea of Doom Wheels, but just no one actually uses them. Yeah, and I love the fact as well that that they're easy to build. Nothing is worse than building clan rats or something that's going to die. Zombies is a perfect example. Building a big lot of zombies that are detailed and hard to build can be an absolute nightmare. So the fact that they're two pieces and just come together with lots of great details.
The push fit though.
You don't like that?
No, it always leaves gaps. So then I have to snip the pegs to get them to fit tighter, and then I have to use like sprue glue to gap fill them. I've never
had that
liked
problem.
push fit models.
I'm fine with it. I don't like push fit for the customization. It makes it hard to kit bash and customize with them. But for something like Clan Rats, where I don't want to be spending 10 hours, like I've been building Varangard this week, like the amount of detail and cleaning up, it's just a nightmare. I just want to bash these out as soon as possible. Plastic glue's usually pretty good with gap filling, so I'm not so worried, to be honest.
But I don't want to spend the time to gap fill every little
plastic glue's
basic
good.
infantry guy, you know?
Plastic glue will normally fill in any gaps. Like I can't say I've ever thought of that as a problem.
I've had
older
problems
models
with some of the push fit ones.
Older
Like
models,
the Underworld warbands.
Okay. I don't recall many issues. Maybe other people do. Maybe it's just particular ones I've been really lucky on.
Reichmar was awful too. I just built him a little bit.
Yeah, as Justin said, the pegs can sometimes be a pain in the butt. Like, for example, the Purple Sun.
I always trim them down.
Purple
the
Sun,
Purple
I didn't
Sun's
even use
awful.
the structure. Like, I just didn't even use the internal structure. I just built it together as one.
Me too.
Okay. And the Giselles. Oh, my God. New Giselles.
The Giselles are gorgeous.
That's terrifying. Do you buy them solo? Do you buy them in units? Are they like Vanguard Raptors? No, Long Strikes.
Raptors.
The Long Strikes, yeah. Like, is this Long Strikes? Am I getting a unit of 3 of these? Am I buying ones? Am I like, how does this work? Like, I need to know more. Cool. Any questions? Any comments? Anyone? Like, I'm seeing some good stuff. People liking, Skaven without bravery is going to be interesting. It's probably the one thing that's kind of held them back, and we know that
the current lists don't care because they take plague furnaces, and plague furnaces say no battle shock tests.
Yeah, but we also had that big gripe where people with the Grey Seer on Screaming Bell used to do that exact same thing, and you start to see the horde of Skaven became less popular. But yes, the plague furnace does work, but now that there's no restrictions, what does that mean? I think that's the key. It's like it's what does that actually mean as a Skaven player? There are 3 Giselles in the box, correct? I didn't catch that. Maybe it's on the document.
Well, I think there's
Justin.
3 different sculpts if you scroll through them.
There was definitely 3. Yeah, maybe it is a box of 3. I just have more questions than answers. I just want to like Victor.
Warp Block Engineer too. That gives him the sniper rule. So they'll definitely be formidable.
Yeah, and we've seen in the current edition how powerful, small heroes hiding between traditional troops with Lookout Sir, being able to like snipe them out is going to be a very, very powerful and cool rule. And maybe question, these are going to be popular. These are going to terrorize the meta. And then Stormcast. I really like it.
I love that. That is a great centerpiece.
I was never a big fan of the Griff Charger models. I never actually went out and bought any of like the Griff Charger. I got some free from the 2nd edition box, but I was never really a big fan of it. This I am. I like the textures. I like the feathers, and I like And
I think it's a great mix of like regal, but also a little bit unsettling.
Yeah, and that's why I like the little Griffhound that we've seen as well. I know some people really don't like the shaggy kind of fur. It looks more like the Irish Wolfhound kind of dog, but I really like it. It looks unkempt. It looks ragged. And it probably works really well with the Hallowed Knights, who are much more darker and grimmer. And you're seeing this already on the models, where they're not as clear-cut, shiny, ultramarine of the Mortal Realms. These are a darker, grimmer. They've seen some shit. Hallowed Knights have seen some shit, and Gardas has seen some shit. It's actually nice as well because all of the heroes bar Gardas has been hammers. It's about time we moved away from hammers and started looking at some of the other chambers.
Well, we have untyped heroes too. Andrasta, Krondis, and Karazai.
You know what I mean. You know what I mean.
Yeah.
Don't. I'm actually me. You know what I mean. It's always been hammers, 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 hammers. I'm digging this. I'm digging this.
I feel like most factions have that problem where a lot of their uniques are sort of all relegated to one sub-faction. I feel like that's part with the new battle formations too. They mentioned that they're trying to move them away from sub-factions so that unique characters don't have to be restricted to one of them.
Which would be nice. Like, there's been plenty of times where you've wanted to run a like, for example, Gardas is a perfect example. Love the army, but when I play Stormcast and all the battle line restrictions, it's easy to put Fulminators and Tempestors to tick that battle line box. And unfortunately, if I do the same type of list in Hammers, sorry, in Hallowed Knights, it makes it a lot harder. It's annoying. You just go the easy route. By the way, I do love this person. I don't know what they're called, but the acolyte thing behind.
Oh, the Memorian.
Yeah, you saw it as a part of the 40k limited models back in the day, and I'm like, ooh, I wouldn't mind that commemorative model. And I like they've taken the concept, and I can see this in cities. I can see this is a cool model.
Well, we've got a couple of them. I'm assuming they're, like tokens, kind of like in cities. The what's it called? The little Iran boy.
You could use this as a part of your command corp as an example. Like, I'm thinking about this, like if I wanted to build something around the Pope, the Zenestra, and I wanted to have a bunch of flagellants, and I wanted to make my command corp a little darker. That's a cool alternative model. Anyway, I like it.
I don't know. It looks like it's on a 25 because I'm assuming the hero's on a 40. So it wouldn't necessarily be able to pull double duty. Relic Bearer. That's the city token.
Yeah, I'm talking about a command corp. They're on 28s and 30s, and they're all on a mixed base.
A 40, a 32, and 4.
You're such a rules person. Let me be creative for half a second. Like, stop ruining my fun. I'm thinking, like, I'm getting creative, and you're like, no, you can't do that. You're not allowed to.
Well, you could put it on one of the command core bases.
I will get some cork and I'll build up the base and allow it to stand on a smaller base if I have to. Mum. Questor's cool. I'm probably not as big of a fan as this one as maybe the others, but it's a cool model. It's interesting. It's like a Lord Veritan, but different.
I like the amount of little details in this batch of Stormcast.
Yeah, I'm gonna Masterpiece Miniatures. Yeah, stop ruining my fun. Stop it.
No, don't stop ruining the fun.
Such a rules person. We should do a show together. We should just do like a regular show. I think we are the perfect rules versus creativity, and we'll clash along the way. These are interesting as well. The Reclusionaries.
I love them. I love their capes. I love their little scrolls.
What role do they play though? Like, is this like a Praetor type unit?
Yeah,
it's like
the Paladin kit got
Retributors.
Cut. So yeah, probably filling that space.
Yeah, so like a new version of the Retributor. Because I initially, like, maybe visually, I just thought of like Praetors. I'm like, okay, they're like another version of a Praetor, and because they're a support role and they've got a banner bearer person, but. Yeah, it's like you got to remember there's a bunch of models being rolled out.
Yeah.
I'm surprised.
They sort of have a lot of the same design elements that I liked about the Sacrosanct too. So I'm glad that they're not just completely getting rid of, having more fabric, more scrolls, that sort of cleric-y feel.
Yeah, it's interesting because my Stormcast, I kit bashed a lot of it with Black Templars because I wanted that grimmer, darker, more medieval style on my Stormcast. Now, initially I did try silver and I walked away from silver and I went like a red. So it's like my army's like a hybrid of Dark Angels meets Black Templar aesthetics and colors, and I use black, red, and white. Yeah, black, red, white are my 3 colors. So I can see these kind of fitting in really well because I've got like my Stormcast Dragons, for example, have the Black Templar swords that have a little bit of chain dangling around, and there is a little bit more scrolls and so I actually think this is going to fit in really well. I didn't build a lot of old cast models. I am a little sad though. Like I'd kit bashed my Judicators using Vigilors. So like, there's a whole bunch of things I'm going to throw away now. It's like, oh, I've lost my Judicators.
I mean, I'm sure there'll be something to use them for. Like Vigilors are staying, right? Those weren't on the list of things that we're going.
No. But I've kit bashed them to such a degree to get like 10 Judicators using the Vigilors that I don't know if I can go back. Like I might have gone too far with the conversions on them. The Prosecutors though are gold.
I love their wings. They're really cool.
Actually, it's actually funny because I was doing some Prosecutors recently, about 8 months ago, and I'd had to go out to get Dark Angel's wings. I think I got not Dark Angels, sorry, the Dark Eldar wings. I think they've got like there's some model range where there's some flying people and they got wings. So I went more angelic, and even my Prime, like my Celestant Prime, has the feathered wings from Indrasa. So I'm glad that almost like very Phoenixy too. Like that reminds me of my Frostheart Phoenix with the
way they're like burning at the ends.
Yeah. What else you got? Yeah, I like it. There's some cool stuff here. I'm seeing people are digging this. People saying that you ruining my fun or keeping us honest, depending on how you feel. Doesn't have time to order a t-shirt, let alone podcast. Okay, there's something there.
He's mad because for a teams tournament, I need to order t-shirts for our team still.
Get onto that. I'll keep her accountable. I'll sort her out. Don't worry about that. The moon symbols on the cloaks, interesting. Maybe there is a secret there for Gits. That'll be neat. They need corn logos. Josh, I know you of all people will be able to do that. Throw some chaos onto the Stormcast. Yep. Pictured in this chat, 2 people with no taste in liking chaos. Stormcast leaving the range. So you got Sequitors, Evocators, Lord Arcanum, Knight Incantor, Lord Exodus, Lord Ornator, Ballista, Retributors, Protectors, Decimators, Lord Celestant, Knight Azeroth, and Venators. And the Heraldor and the Fitilla. There probably is more. Poor old Chase is still punching them out.
Yeah.
I'm actually surprised. Like, I wonder if they're going to redesign the Prime, because Prime would be one of the few chunky old cast models. Maybe that's by design. Maybe that's on purpose. That he doesn't die as often, which means he doesn't get reforged as often, which means doesn't have to go into the slimmer armor, or maybe it's a design space they'll tap into closer to the battle tome. I don't know.
We might get some of whatever is remaining, done at a later date too, even if they don't come now, or even if they don't come with the battle tome either. I'm sure they can't resculpt everything at once,
No, but you've got you do still have some old cast as well, so maybe there's a part of the story there. It'll just look weird where you've got, I don't know, I think it's weird that you've got a bunch of old chunkier models and then a bunch of new slimmer range. All right, we are close to probably wrapping up because we've got Spearhead game coming up in a couple of minutes. So Spearhead is going to kick off soon. Anything else that's come up? So we've got the Spearhead rules.
Mash play cards.
Where's that? Am I blind?
Yeah, it's
Where?
the one.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I clicked that link already. I already clicked that link.
Did we click that one?
No, I clicked it. I hadn't opened it yet. Love the maps, although I'm much more of a fan
of that map. Is pretty cool.
I think that's cool. I want to see more maps. Like I like to see the realm in a realistic places and locations. Like I know this high fantasy is cool, but I'm always a big fan of the intricate detail like you saw from the Realm of Fire, thanks to Soulbound RPG.
I know in the current one, we've got the big overview map, and then we've got like a section for each realm with some smaller or zoomed in maps. I would assume we've probably got that here too.
I know I did a video like 6 months ago looking at the Mortal Realms, and I was able to grab as many of those maps as possible, but some realms are just not fleshed out as much as others, which is probably not a bad thing. It means we can keep fleshing them out in future. I like the GHB as card form as well, because I'm so sick of buying that GHB and 3/4 of it I never touch. And half it's like the core rules, you've got endless spells in there, and they change endless spells all the time. So it's really just like those first 10 pages that you need, and then you're done.
Yeah, having it all on cards is super convenient. Especially if everything else is on cards too, because Fornica got War Scroll cards, so I assume we'll probably get those. So if you have, your War Scroll cards, your GHB cards, like that, really small, really compact, that's a lot easier to carry around than, full hardcover battle tomes and stuff.
Yeah, I got really lucky at the World Championships. Every player got GHB cards, so everyone got the missions and the rules in card form. And ever since I got those cards from the World Championships, I haven't really looked at my GHB. They're just easier. They're quick references. This is a really good win. This is a really good win. I'm a big fan of the cards. I just hope that they sell it independently and it's not just purely locked to the special box, which maybe not everyone is going to buy. And as long as that's sorted out, I'm good with this. It saves paper.
Because they've done box exclusive cards before. Like all the army boxes had enhancement cards, and they never released those separately. So hopefully these get a separate release.
Josh nailing it here. All the important shit at your fingertips. Yeah. Interesting enough, folks, we can see the mission names. We can see Border War, Focal Point, Star Strikes, Shifting Objectives, Feral Foray, Jaws of Galat, Battle for the Past, Scorched Earth, Better Part of Valor, The Vice, Close to the Chest, and Limited Resources. For any OGs like me, you will recognize this. This goes back to 2016, 2017. There is battle plans. Now, how they've changed is obviously up for debate or up for discovery. But there's a lot of familiar names there.
I'm definitely excited. Some of them I recognize, so it'll be nice to see how those have changed. Some of them are before my time, so it'll be neat to play them for the first time. At the end of the edition, I've actually been going back and playing. I found this random, tiny packet book at a game store for $5 that had a bunch of 2018 and 2019 battle plans in it. So I've been jamming through those with 3rd edition rules, and that's been interesting. So maybe some of those will show up.
I used to love Shifting Objectives, the original version. It was a mind F. It was this one objective that moves around the entire board, and I know some people love randomness like me. Some people purely hated it, but and I know it got refined. I think it got updated about 6 or 12 months later. But I'm curious to see all of these and how they've been 4th edition. Is Star Strike exactly the same, where it's just 3 lines and objective drops? Or how
there were
does
a couple versions of Star Strike too.
There was
at least
there was one that was really wide. There was one that was really wide, and then they refined it to a much closer in the center space.
Yeah.
Chase, narratively speaking, we seem to be resetting a tad rather than progressing, at least at the moment. My guess is maybe mid to late edition, we will progress again and finally go to Ulgu. Yeah, that's a really good point, Chase, actually, because we probably all expected, and probably Vince Venturella was leading the charge when it came to 4th edition being in Ulgu, and Skaven being at the forefront. And
I think a lot of that was just speculation based on Underworlds going to Ulgu. I don't think there was enough of a pattern there for there to be actual signs.
And I think partially people just wanted to get out of Gur. I think we did our 3 years in Gur. It's just hopium going, please get us out of here. But it's fascinating that, yes, Chase, AOS 1 was focused on Gairan and Akshi. And it was interesting through the Dawnbringer series how you had two Dawnbringers quests kind of happening. One was going to succeed, one was going to fail, one was going into Gairan, one was going into Akshi. The narrative there, and I actually don't mind them going back to Gairan and Akshi, because they were first edition kind of focused regions that most of you all weren't a part of. And to be honest with you, because Age of Sigmar wasn't quite, we don't know if this game is going to succeed or not after the death of the old world, I don't think they really heavily invested into it other than talking about the Realm Gate Wars. So I'm really excited for them to revisit with a new fresh lens to see what they do with the world building of Gairan and Akshi.
I think both narratively and mechanically with all those throwback battle plans, there's definitely sort of a focus on like, what have we done and how can we improve on it?
Yeah, and look, I liked Gur. I really liked Gur. I think we just kind of spent maybe a little bit too long in Gur. And, we went through COVID as well, so I wonder what this would have looked like if we didn't go through COVID. And, I know we had the split season of 6-month GHBs we tried, but
I like
I'm
the
really
6-month GHBs.
In card form, I would have. Not so much in book form. But I think like what's really interesting is when you start looking at Gairan and what's happening in Gairan and, the Nurgle rot, do we see more Sylvaneth expansion with Kurnothi, and what are we going to see play out in the Realm of Life, and what are we going to see out in the world of Akshi, where Tzeentch and Khorne is very dominant, and, there's all this stuff that happens. I can't wait for them to revisit with I remember, yes, Chase, a perfect example is we had the original, what was called Season of War, where we all played our little games and submitted our scores to Games Workshop via the Warhammer store, and whichever faction won would claim the realm, which is what triggered eventually the Cities of Sigmar to be born. But at that time, pretty sure Destruction only had one battle tome. Pretty sure Death only had one battle tome. This was pre-Nighthaunt. Nighthaunt was just generic Death before Legions of Nagash, which is before the Soulblight Gravelords. So a lot of cool stuff.
There's been a lot in the meantime.
Maddie, closing thoughts. I think we wrap up because Spearhead is about to kick off. I'm not going to stream the Spearhead game. I want you to enjoy it, and I'll probably fanboy with all my wrestling goodness. I know you probably want to see that, but you're not going to see it. I've also got work to go to. But what's your closing thoughts?
I'm really excited. They showed a lot of sneak peeks of rules that I'm going to go back and peruse. I think that there's a lot in the box. Hopefully, some of it's sold separately, because I definitely want to pick up like the Spearhead cards and stuff. I definitely want to pick up those GHB cards. It seems very convenient. I'm loving the new models that we've seen. I'm really excited.
Yeah, so I'm also really excited, and that's genuine excitement. I will share more with you all in the coming days. As I've already mentioned, keep an eye out on Goonhammer, probably in the next 12 hours, and I can share a little bit more then. I'm not at liberty to share anything at this particular point, but within the next 12 hours, I absolutely can, which then may mean we can discuss a bit more about what we've seen and what you can expect. And I think in the meantime, if you're on my Discord, please let me know in the comment section what you want to be seeing. There's partially the reason why I've been really quiet on YouTube is because I am going to be building out a whole bunch of content in preparation for 4th edition. So if there's things that you want to know, things that you're trying to understand, if you've got questions or thoughts or concerns, jump into Discord, either chat with us. There's actually a suggestion area as well. And you actually might form part of the videos or a series of videos that we'll be putting out, but all will be revealed, I guess, in less than 12 hours. So keep an eye out on Goonhammer, where I've been writing over the last couple of months. But Madigan, this has been great. We're going to have the Spearhead stream soon. A day or two later, we're going to have the match play battle. So we'll get to see 4th edition in real life. And I'm sure there's going to be a lot of content off the back of that.
For sure.
What's your one hope for OBR? No, pleasure. And I think,
OBR.
yeah, what's your one hope for OBR?
Well, we've seen Nagash's scroll, and he looks really good. I'm hoping he's pointed at a cost where he's playable.
Yeah.
I love Nagash. I love his model, and I really want him to be cool.
It's interesting because, like, I'd love the God tier models. You know what I actually really like? Thinking about God tier models, I would love an Apocalypse version of Age of Sigmar. So we've talked about Spearhead maybe being the low model, easy to play, fast game.
So we actually got one.
Didn't
In a
really
White
take
Dwarf.
off.
It's really bad, in my opinion. Like, especially because God models like Nagash are particularly awful in it, because one of the rules is that wizards who can cast multiple spells get to only cast one spell, but they get the number of spells they would have been able to cast added as a casting bonus. So Nagash ends up being a plus 11 caster, but he only gets one spell. And I feel like if you're making a big apocalypse style game mode, everyone wants to play those big wizards. And so making them awful is disappointing.
Welcome back, everyone. This match is
All right, since the Spearhead game's about to start, I'm going to go drop off to start some work and watch this in the meantime. I put the link in the chat here. Yeah, I'm going to watch it as well, but I have to go to work and you know, go back to the email factory.
Sucks to be you.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. It's 11 o'clock in the morning, so my email factory is already a couple of hours late. On Twitch, I put the link in the chat. You can go watch them on Twitch. Warhammer might be streaming also on YouTube, so check it out. Choose whatever you prefer if they happen to be on both. But this is going to be a celebrity battle between Claudio Castagnoli, who's playing the Stormcast Eternals. You won't know him as Cesaro from WWE. If you follow wrestling at all, I certainly don't. And then in the Skaven side, you've got Kip Sabian as well, who both of them are going to have a lot of fun. So I highly recommend you check it out, and then check out the match play battle in a couple of days later. There's Kip. All right, I'm gonna hang around for like 2 minutes. I can't drop off right now. All right, let's.
Is that a custom Skaven book? That looks sick.
Oh, this is fucking cool. I will end the stream, folks, in a couple of minutes. Like, once the entrances are done, so do jump over now. I won't be offended.
Absolutely pumped. Oh, it's amazing.
That's so cool.
They look so genuinely excited to be there.
Yeah, but both of these are legitimate Warhammer fans, so you are in good hands. Like it.
Oh, look at that,
cool.
representing the Skaven if it wasn't obvious.
We have to watch Claudio's entrance.
Models coming here in Spearhead.
That's cool.
But that's not all. We have another great competitor. Are you ready?
Can he bring that energy?
You know it, Claudio Castagnoli.
Swiss Superman. That thing is heavy as fuck. I've lifted that. That is fucking heavy. Excuse my French, but... Oh, wow. Wow. That is legitimate made. That's made in metal by the Forged. Come to the YouTube channel. I've lifted it with both hands. And look at Andy. Andy, it's not easy.
what a display. Look at that.
All right, kids,
Representing
we're going to end the
Stormcast
stream now.
Eternals
Thank
here.
you for
Skaven
joining us.
versus the
Please go check this
Stormcast.
out on YouTube or Twitch, depending
Two
on where
opposite
GW is
sides
streaming.
here.
The link is in the
Indeed,
description.
absolutely.
We will come back at a later stage and
the
talk about
forces of the
Spearhead and what
Skaven,
we've
the Skaven
learned
tide
and
rising
anything
up
else I'm able to
to,
share at a
overwhelm
relevant
the
point. But
Stormcast
stay
coming in
tuned.
to bring
Subscribe to the
check
channel if you
Rangers
haven't
in.
already.
And on this
Thank you for
battlefield,
hanging out. I
folks,
hope you had a lot of
two
fun.
magnificent sets of battles
And
played by
let's
two
go enjoy
phenomenal
some
athletes.
Spearhead.
4
Madigan,
rounds
thank
of
you
the
for
new
your time.
Spearhead rule set.
Thank you.
Very exciting show.
Yeah, you get to see some of that the first